She entered the grand ballroom with her head held high, a vision in white silk, radiant under crystal chandeliers. Yet instead of welcoming smiles, she felt the subtle sneers, the whispered jokes, the sharp glances of disapproval. The family of the groom, polished, wealthy, and confident in their superiority, had already decided she wasn't worthy. They had judged her by appearances, by her modest demeanor, by what they assumed she lacked. What they didn't know, what no one suspected, was that she carried in her name, her mind, and her ambition a fortune far beyond their wildest dreams. And tonight, she would show them that power doesn't always announce itself with a grand entrance. Sometimes, it waits silently, until the moment it commands respect, even fear. Herb Chapter 1 The Insult, 500 words. Clara Prescott had grown up in humble surroundings, her brilliance and strategic mind hidden behind her quiet demeanor. When she met Edward Sinclair, heir to one of the largest conglomerates in the world, she had believed in love. She had believed in partnership. And yet, tonight, as she walked through the ornate doors of the Sinclair estate, she realized she had entered a battlefield. The Sinclair family, dressed in designer suits and glittering jewelry, didn't bother hiding their judgment. One aunt whispered, loud enough for the bridesmaids to hear, "Do they really expect her to fit into our world?" A cousin smirked, adding, "Her dress is fine, I suppose, but she has nothing to offer in sophistication." Clara's jaw tightened. She had endured subtle slights before, but this was blatant. Every comment, every sneer, every sideways glance cut like a blade, but she held herself still. She had been trained for moments like this, not because she needed approval, but because she knew patience was her greatest weapon. Edward approached her, nervous, glancing at his family, clearly aware of their contempt. "Clara, they don't understand," he whispered. "I understand perfectly," she replied softly, her voice steady. "And I'll let them see I'm more than they could ever imagine." The ceremony began, the exchange of vows under glittering chandeliers in the eyes of elite society. The Sinclair family continued to murmur, clearly unimpressed by Clara's poise, elegance, or quiet confidence. But Clara didn't flinch. Inside, she was calculating, planning, waiting for the right moment. Because tonight wasn't just a wedding, it was a test. And Edward's family, blinded by arrogance, didn't see the storm approaching. They didn't know that Clara Prescott wasn't just a bride, she was the CEO of one of the most powerful companies in the tech industry, a self-made billionaire with a fortune of over $2 billion, acquired long before she even met Edward. When the last vows were spoken and Edward's family prepared to toast their supposed victory in marrying up, Clara's mind was already moving 10 steps ahead. She could forgive their judgment. She could even tolerate their insults. But she would not allow them to underestimate her, not now, not ever. High Voltage Chapter 2 The Revelation and Resolution, 500 words. The reception began in a grand hall lined with gold and crystal. Waiters carried champagne, while the Sinclair family whispered about Clara's lack of experience and insufficient pedigree. But Clara smiled politely, her calm composure hiding the tempest of strategy beneath. When Edward went to announce a joint investment plan, a $2 billion merger between the Sinclair conglomerate and Clara's own company, the room fell into polite silence. Clara had agreed to join the deal, but not without a lesson. As Edward began to speak, Clara stepped forward. "Before you toast to this union," she said, voice steady and commanding. "Attention, I have something to clarify." All eyes turned toward her. "You have judged me, insulted me, and dismissed my abilities based on assumptions about who I am. But tonight, I will show you the truth." A wave of shock rippled through the room as she unveiled documents, contracts, and press clippings proving that she was not just a participant, she was the controlling owner of a multi-billion-dollar empire. Her net worth surpassed that of Edward's family, her influence global, her accomplishments undeniable. The $2 billion deal she had been poised to sign would have given Edward's family access to her assets, but she hadn't signed it yet. "I will not allow arrogance or ignorance to dictate my choices," she declared. "Edward's family may have underestimated me, but I never underestimated them. This deal is off, until respect is earned." The Sinclair family froze, their laughter and condescension replaced by shock, disbelief, and a dawning understanding of the power they had ignored. Clara's poise, intelligence, and quiet strength left a mark they would never forget. Edward looked at her, admiration and awe replacing his earlier uncertainty. Clara had not only protected her fortune, she had also set a precedent: respect, dignity, and intelligence are never negotiable. The night ended not with a wedding toast, but with a lesson, one that echoed far beyond the hall. True power doesn't need approval, it demands acknowledgement. And Clara Prescott had ensured that everyone in the room knew exactly who she was, and that she would never be underestimated again. The grand doors of the Sinclair estate opened, and Clara Prescott stepped inside, her white silk gown flowing like liquid under the crystal chandeliers. The ballroom gleamed with golden light, polished marble floors reflecting the sparkle of jewelry and the glint of designer suits. Hundreds of guests turned their heads as she entered, but instead of the warm smiles she had expected, she felt the sharp edge of scrutiny and judgment. The Sinclair family, proud of their wealth and pedigree, had already decided she didn't belong. Their whispers and subtle sneers brushed against her like cold wind. One aunt, fanning herself with a jeweled hand fan, muttered loud enough for nearby bridesmaids to hear, "I hope she knows her place." A cousin leaned over with a smirk, adding, "She's sweet, I suppose, but sophistication is clearly missing." Clara's jaw tightened, but she held herself perfectly still. She had endured judgment before, yet this was different. This was a battlefield disguised as a celebration. She had come here believing in love, believing in Edward, and believing in the partnership they would form together. But tonight, it became clear that the real challenge wasn't the wedding itself, it was the arrogance and entitlement of those around her. Every glance, every whispered insult, seemed designed to wound. Edward approached her cautiously, his face betraying embarrassment. "Clara, I'm so sorry," he whispered, glancing nervously at his family. "They don't understand you." Clara's eyes, steady and unwavering, met his. "I understand perfectly," she replied softly. "And I'll show them exactly what they're missing." She straightened her posture, smoothing her gown and allowing a calm, confident aura to radiate from her. Inside, she was already calculating her moves, anticipating the moment when patience would turn the tide. The ceremony began beneath the glittering chandeliers, vows echoing through the expansive hall. The Sinclair family, however, paid little attention to the solemnity of the moment. They continued their murmuring, openly questioning her refinement, her background, her suitability. Clara's cheeks warmed at the sharpness of their judgment, but she refused to let it show. She remembered the words her father had taught her, "Do not rush to prove your worth to those blinded by pride. Let your actions, and only your actions, speak." As she listened to Edward recite his vows, Clara realized something vital. Tonight was not just about a wedding. It was about demonstrating quiet strength, measured intelligence, and unwavering confidence in the face of condescension. The Sinclair family had assumed she was naive, that her modest demeanor meant weakness. Yet, they had no idea of the empire she commanded, the billions she controlled, or the sharp mind that had built her wealth and reputation from nothing. When the final words of the vows were spoken, Clara stood poised, a picture of serenity amidst a room full of judgment. She had endured mockery and subtle cruelty, yet she remained composed. And while the Sinclair family believed they were evaluating her, the truth was the opposite. She had already assessed them, their arrogance, their entitlement, their short-sighted pride, and she knew the moment would come when the tables would turn. Tonight, the bride might appear humble, but inside, she was a force they could never ignore. 1. Bride entering the grand ballroom. A young woman in an elegant white silk gown walking into a luxurious ballroom. Crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, polished marble floors reflecting light. Wealthy guests turning their heads, some whispering, others smirking subtly. The bride's expression calm, confident, slightly tense, conveying quiet strength. Cinematic lighting, photorealistic, wide-angle view capturing grandeur and tension. 2. Sinclair family sneering. A group of wealthy, elegantly dressed family members standing near the center of the ballroom. Subtle gestures, smirks, raised eyebrows, whispered comments, disapproving looks. Crystal glasses in hand, gold accents in clothing, opulent decor in the background. Focus on facial expressions showing judgment and arrogance. Photorealistic, dramatic lighting highlighting the contrast between arrogance and humility. 3. Bride's calm defiance. Close-up of the bride standing gracefully amidst a room of judgmental faces. Her posture upright, hands lightly clasped, a faint confident smile on her face. Blurred background of sneering guests, sparkling chandeliers above. Cinematic depth of field, warm light emphasizing her poise and inner strength. 4. The $2 billion deal reveal. Bride presenting documents, contracts, and press clippings in front of shocked family members. Edward beside her, looking surprised but supportive. Reactions. Jaws dropped, eyes wide, hands covering mouths, stunned expressions. Elegant ballroom, luxurious table with contracts and champagne glasses scattered. Photorealistic, cinematic storytelling perspective, medium angle shot. 5. Bride walking out triumphant. Bride walking confidently toward the exit of the ballroom, father or partner by her side. Shocked family members watching her leave, some seated, some standing frozen. Golden light streaming through the grand doors, casting long shadows. Expression on bride's face calm, victorious, dignified. Wide angle, cinematic backlight, photorealistic, capturing dramatic closure.